Welcome. My name is Mark Soycher. I'm Human Resource Counsel at CBIA, and I'll be hosting today's webcast on the topic of COVID-19 and coping with stress. Certainly a very suitable and needed topic and information given the times that everyone is struggling with. For those of you from outside of Connecticut who are not familiar with CBIA, we are the state's largest employer association, offering services to member companies in a wide range of areas, including consulting and education on HR issues, safety and business management issues, representation in Hartford at the state capitol, lobbying public officials to promote a strong business and job growth climate in the state. And we've had a successful large insurance program since 1995. Thanks to Solutions EAP for their generous assistance today in doing this presentation and makes this possible, especially to offer it at no charge to members at a time when these issues are very important. The format today will be slide presentation on your screen with voiceover commentary for our presenters. From our presenters. Ordinarily, we have the capacity to have real-time Q&A through a text function, but out of consideration for everyone's schedules and the disruption that everyone is struggling with, we're doing this as a recording instead, and we'll have contact information posted at the end of the program so that listeners may submit follow-up questions to either us at CBIA or to Scott or Marlene, our presenters, and we'll certainly get back to you as soon as we possibly can. But as with a live presentation, we hope that you think of questions throughout because we do want to hear what's on your mind and what your concerns are relative to all of this. So now, let me move on to the introduction. We've got Scott Serviss, who is the Director of Solutions EAP, and they provide counseling to employees, corporate training, consulting to management on behavioral health and human resource concerns. And Meredith Kurban, who's a consultant with Solutions EAP, and Meredith has a background in behavioral health and nonprofit management. She was formerly the Vice President of Marketing and Business Development at Advanced Behavioral Health Incorporated. And Solutions EAP is a wonderful support service for CBIA ourselves. They are our EAP provider. So I'm very pleased to have their contribution to this important topic. And now I'll pass it along to Scott to begin the presentation.
Thanks, Mark, for the opportunity to share some of our knowledge on this important topic during these trying times. So, my name is Scott Serviss, and we are going to present on COVID-19 and coping with stress in the workplace. And we'll be covering types of stressors in the workplace, personal reactions to stress, and workplace and stress management strategies for both the workplace and the home. And then we'll end with a 5-minute mindfulness exercise. So stress is a condition of emotional strain brought about by a person's reaction to the situation. And change during crisis disrupts people's ability to process information and reduces their sense of control. So during times of high anxiety and stress, people become more protective and more prone to panicked reactions. The emotion part of the brain can hijack the cognitive part of the brain, which analyzes and interprets behavior. This fight, flight, or freeze response goes back to prehistoric times when humans needed to be on the alert and respond quickly to dangerous situations. At the same time, many of us have a reserve of resilience. We have the ability to connect with and help others when under stress. Resilience is the ability to recover from hardship and difficulties. So people who are resilient tend to have an optimistic outlook on life. They recognize that life events may be out of their control, but they're capable of handling whatever comes their way. So the fight, flight, freeze response is your body's natural reaction to danger. It's a stress response that you react to when there's a threat, like an oncoming car or being approached by a menacing stranger. the response causes instant hormonal and physiological changes, and these changes will alert you to protect yourself. So it's not a conscious decision, it's an automatic reaction. So once it's begun, it's very hard to control. Sometimes that response is overactive, and this happens when non-threatening situations trigger the reaction. Overactive responses are more common with those people that have a premorbid or underlying anxiety, and they've experienced trauma or stressful events in their life. So, if you've experienced a trauma by being bit by a dog, you might have a stress response anytime you hear a dog bark or you see a dog that looks menacing. So the key is to notice when we're having these responses, and that's important to notice.
Fear and anxiety about the pandemic can be overwhelming and cause strong emotions in adults and children. And these are some common stress reactions that manifest as physical and cognitive symptoms. Now, the physical signs of stress range from feeling tired to being unable to sleep or stay asleep, along with aches and pains, headache, stomach upset, and appetite disturbances, which can manifest as losing your appetite or eating too much. And it's really no coincidence that the sale of comfort foods has surged during the pandemic. Many of those foods are highly processed packaged foods like frozen pizza, pasta, mac and cheese. And on the cognitive side, people may have difficulty focusing. They may feel a lack of motivation, a sense of detachment, and a wish for things to go back to how they were. Social distancing for many people also means social isolation and a painful lack of human connection. And that can be a real problem for people who are prone to depression or anxiety, or who already feel isolated, such as seniors who live alone or in a facility and can't have visitors. And researchers have found that some individuals may experience mental health problems for the very first time during a pandemic. And as human beings, we tend to crave security. We want to feel safe and have a sense of control over our lives and well-being. But right now, we don't have the same sense of control. We don't know what's going to happen with the economy. We don't even know when schools will open up again. And that fear and uncertainty can cause a range of emotional reactions. It's common to feel bouts of anxiety and irritability, including heightened emotional and behavioral responses that aren't necessarily appropriate, such as people yelling at each other in the grocery store to keep their distance. And what we also see is that children often adopt the coping strategies they observe in their parents. Parents who grow anxious during a pandemic may end up witnessing their children develop anxiety right along with them. So whatever your own stress reactions are, remember that the emotions you may be experiencing are normal reactions to difficult circumstances. Things are different right now, and everyone is adjusting. So it's helpful to prioritize what's most important and know that it's okay to let some things go.
While we always can't choose what happens to us, we can choose how to react to the events that are thrown our way. What makes the difference in many cases is how we think about the situation. Do we believe that the situation is transient or permanent? Do we believe that we have influence or control over the circumstance? And do we think that we have the ability to handle it? We can choose to use limiting beliefs or empowering beliefs. If we continually tell ourselves, I can't handle it, rather than I'm going to reach out for some support or I'm going to make some adjustments, it'll make a big difference in the way we feel about a situation. Everyone has experienced this crisis in different ways. Some are going to work, and these employees are on the front lines. They're wearing personal protective equipment to stop the spread of the virus, but they may have concerns about spreading the virus to family members. Others are working from home. They're needing to make adjustments to new ways of working and new ways of communicating. And families may be dealing with managing elders and managing disruptive schedules as their kids learn from home. We'll discuss each of these categories in turn.
So these recommendations are for everyone, but especially for essential employees. who are going to work without necessarily knowing how risky it is for their own health and well-being. There are a lot of unknowns with this virus, and it may be months before we even have answers about how prevalent it is and when the pandemic will finally subside. But in the meantime, it's important to stay socially connected with people and check in with peers and colleagues and be kind to them and to yourself. Assume that other people are also struggling and give them the benefit of the doubt. Make an effort to stay positive and look for solutions, and don't be hesitant to ask trusted people for support when you need it. A routine is important to stay focused when you're working from home. Don't stay in your pajamas all day. While you don't have to dress like you're going to the office if you don't want to, taking care of your appearance can go a long way toward helping you feel like you're taking care of yourself. Besides, just because you're working from home doesn't mean that no one from work will see you. Many of us are participating in video calls during this time. Second, designate a separate workspace to set boundaries between your work and home life. For example, if you're working at a table that you need to use outside of work or a room that you spend a lot of time in, pack up your work every night to make the end of your day decisive. And keep regular hours. You're more likely to get your best work done and be most ready to transition back to the office if you stick with your regular hours. If your role is collaborative, being on the same schedule as your coworkers makes everything easier too. And it's also important to build transition into work. And it can be as simple as getting your cup of coffee and then logging into your computer at the same time every day. So have a plan for the day and hold yourself accountable. As most of us are finding out, distraction is one of the big challenges facing people who work from home. Make it a point not to check your emails every 5 seconds while you're working, and steer clear of the news or social media. It's also easy to get sucked into a rabbit hole, and before you know it, half the day is gone. And when you're done with work, have a wrap-up routine. This could be something like a final check on your emails, reviewing your calendar for meetings or calls that are coming up, and writing a task list on what you want to accomplish the next day. Give yourself something that will signal the end of work and serve as a buffer and allow you to decompress. And maybe it's taking a walk right at the end of the workday or something else that gets you outside in the fresh air.
As a manager or leader, it's important to stay calm, stay connected, and be clear. First, it's important for you to stay calm in the crisis and model a sense of resilience and positivity that we'll get through this. Ask your people how they're doing in individual meetings if possible. Second, it's important to stay connected and communicate. During stressful times, it's important to let employees know that your door's open to them to ask questions or to reach out for help on their work. And don't over-rely on email. It's important to lay out a plan between you and your employees and lay out expectations how often you're going to check in with them and how you're going to communicate any changes or new assignments. Holding regular department or team meetings in person or virtually can keep employees apprised of any changes or what's everyone working on. And team meetings are also a great way to check in with people on how everyone is doing, because during these times, it's important to reach out to people and ask them how they're doing in particular. When you're meeting virtually, meeting by video is better than by phone. Seeing people's faces and facial expressions can break up a little bit of the social isolation that comes from working from home, and it also cuts down on miscommunication. And last, it's important to be clear. Under stress, people have difficulty hearing, understanding, and processing information. So you want to keep your messages to 3 points. Clear and concise information will prevent the rumor mill. And we know that as the economy opens up, as new information comes in from the state, customers, and suppliers, you want to keep everyone informed. There'll be lots of change coming forward in the near future, and some employees will make those changes readily, and others will take some time. Anticipate some resistance. As long as you as a leader, you're being clear and you're being consistent in your messages, employees will come along. kids of all ages, and I guess adults too, perform best with structure. When they know what to expect, they can adjust and they can successfully regulate their mood and behavior. Now, I have two kids at home. One is in elementary school and the other's in middle school. And here's what's worked for us. First, we try to maintain a consistent wake-up time and consistent bedtime. So when my kids get up in the morning, we ask them to get dressed, eat breakfast, brush their teeth, and do any typical kind of before schools or chores before they start their work. Although they ask, we tell them that wearing pajamas signals that their day hasn't started or that they're on vacation. Consistent bedtime is important too because it leads to good quality and sufficient sleep, which helps your immune system, which helps maintain people out of the health system, but also manages stress and regulates emotions too. Adults need at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and kids and teenagers need more. As far as meal times, school-age children can tell you exactly when their lunch is supposed to be, and their body and brain functions best when they're kept at that schedule. Now, as far as managing the school day, I have a bit of an advantage because my wife is an educator. But here again, the key is structure and breaks. Schools tend to be providing a schedule that mimics the school day with flexibility added in. And school districts are providing materials and internet resources for students. So you want to structure your child's day to include focused time on subjects, say starting math at 9 to 9:30, and then you want to separate those work times with regular breaks. We also know that for families with kids, working from home can be very stressful. So it's important to plan ahead, ask for help, and also give yourself a break. Again, here, what's worked for my family and friends in similar circumstances are what's here, which is to be upfront about expectations. So it's important to be proactive and communicate with your employer that you have children at home, so they're aware that you cannot guarantee that all your work calls are going to be interruption-free. And you also want to set expectations with your children as well, which is there are going to be certain times of the day where you're working and they have to manage themselves. It's helpful when you can split up the work. If you have a partner and if work allows, you may consider taking shifts. Maybe one person works and while the other is watching the kids in the morning, and then you swap out. And this can guarantee that at least some of the hours you have some focus purely on work. Where you can, set up virtual babysitters. Reach out to grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends, even neighbors to arrange virtual play dates for your kids. Retired grandparents are particularly willing to help out. They can talk, read, or play games all online with kids. Similarly, you're going to want to plan activities that don't need supervision. If it's a very young child, babies can use swings or a bouncy chair or listen to music or a show. Toddlers, elementary kids can play games and puzzles. And you want to create enough activities, either an activity box or an activity center, that kids can use during breaks. You want to have enough of a variety of activities because most kids like having choices and have shorter attention spans. Kids can also be kept busy with trustworthy apps or their favorite shows. For instance, my kids are learning how to write music with an online app. Aim to schedule your most engaging and reliable activities for your kids during the time that you need to be most productive, or use your virtual babysitters during those times. Working from home with kids means maintaining harmony wherever possible. Find out and think about what motivates your kids most. When they demonstrate good behavior, reward them with small rewards. We use Legos because Legos are very popular in my house. And be kind and reward yourself too. Remember that you need to take breaks and don't forget to socialize. maybe even watch a TV show that isn't the Disney Channel.
So stress management starts with identifying the sources of stress in your life. And this isn't as simple as it sounds because your true sources of stress aren't always obvious. For example, if you feel stressed because of work deadlines, maybe it's procrastinating or not managing time well that is really the true source of your stress, not the actual deadline. It's easy to overlook our own stress-inducing thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So managing stress is all about taking charge of our thoughts, emotions, schedule, environment, and the way that we deal with problems. The ultimate goal is a balanced life with time for work, relationships, relaxation, and fun. And it starts with taking care of your physical self, getting enough sleep, eating healthy, and avoiding unhealthy ways of coping, such as overeating or zoning out in front of the TV, or using drugs or alcohol to escape. In fact, using alcohol to relieve stress and anxiety can have a paradoxical effect. Drinking may provide temporary feelings of relaxation, but habitual use alters the balance of chemicals in the brain that regulate mood. So alcohol can contribute to and worsen symptoms of depression, anxiety, and other mental health disorders and interfere with sleep too. It becomes a vicious circle. The person drinks in response to stress, feels worse later on, and turns to alcohol again to avoid dealing with painful feelings. Drinking to self-medicate can also have...
Marlene?
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
Can't help interjecting there that the state, in its list of designated essential businesses that are to remain open, are liquor stores. So
yes.
I think
yep.
it's wise to be conscious that that is a public message that needs to be countered to some degree.
Yeah, and liquor sales have gone through the roof. Just as I mentioned before, the sales of packaged processed foods have gone through the roof too, and it's really not too healthy for people.
Yeah.
Because, you know, excessive drinking can cause some health consequences, heart and liver disease, high blood pressure, stroke, and even cancer. So, yeah, other better ways can be relaxation techniques to unwind, such as deep breathing, stretching, and meditation.
Thanks, Mark. That's an important point to discuss.
And the fact that people working at home have access to things like alcohol, you know, whereas they would never think of, you know, imbibing while at work. Again, the remote work and isolation can play a part in that.
Absolutely, and certainly there's more risk, so it's an important point to bring up. So here are some research renewal methods that can be helpful for people to think about and maybe try things to renew your body, your mind, and your soul. And if you leave with just the words learn, laugh, and love, I think that will be a good mnemonic for you to think. It's important to make space for activities and conversations that have nothing to do with the outbreak. So maybe that's going into nature, or taking a walk in the woods, riding your bike, doing some gardening, or just getting out into the fresh air and sunshine can help. If prayer or meditation is important to you, you certainly want to make some time for that too. We know that maintaining your support network lessens stress, and it's important to connect with others in ways that you maintain relationships with people, be that on FaceTime or any of the other products that are out there. Seeing faces is different than just talking on the phone, because seeing faces releases a hormone called oxytocin. It's a bonding hormone between people. So take some time out of your day to connect with people, to do something fun, to laugh, be playful, whether that's listening to music or watching comedies or just joking around. It's important also to keep some positivity as well. Ask yourself, what went well today? What can I be have some gratitude for? And that can help combat some negative thinking and lessening stress. And if you find yourself where no matter what you try, you're still feeling down or particularly anxious, reach out to a mental health professional. Many therapists are they're offering video counseling, they're offering phone counseling, and there are emergency exceptions for telehealth. So check in on people that are close to you that may be feeling the same way, and refer them either if their company has an EAP, or refer them to their medical provider or 211 if needed. So next, you're going to experience a brief 5-minute meditation. So I'd like you to get in a comfortably seated position before we start. And you'll hear the meditation, and then we'll debrief it at the end of the 5 minutes.
Welcome to your meditation. I'm Dr. Robert Eric Dinnenberg, and I'll guide you through from start to finish. Mindfulness is present moment attention without judgment. For this meditation, we'll attend to our feet with mindfulness, and then we'll move on to the breath and the abdomen, and then to finish, we'll return to the feet. So let's get started. With mindfulness, start to observe your feet. Answer this question to yourself. What does it feel like to have my feet on the ground in this present moment? Explore this present moment experience of your feet. You might notice what it feels like to have your feet in your shoes, in your socks. You might observe different points of pressure presenting to different parts of your feet. And you might notice temperature. Simply observe whatever you notice. There's no right or wrong, no good or bad. Whatever you notice is okay. And anything that takes you away from this noticing is a distraction. Any thought about the future or the past, any worry or expectation, any internal dialogue or judgment, notice and let go. With forgiveness, with patience, notice and let go. Notice and let go. And shepherd your attention back to your feet. And when you're ready, let go of your feet and shift your attention to your abdomen. Here we find the home base for mindfulness of breathing. Observe what it feels like to breathe in this present moment. Explore and discover your own way of noticing your own breath. You might observe a rising of your abdomen as you breathe in, and a falling as you breathe out. Your own way of noticing your own breath might include registering an expanding feeling as you breathe in, and a deflating feeling as you breathe out. Ride the waves of your breath with your attention. Anything that takes you away from your breath is a distraction. Any thought about the future or the past, any worry or internal dialogue, any expectation or judgment, notice and let go. Notice and let go. With forgiveness, notice and let go. And time again, shepherd your attention back to your breath. Back to answering this very simple question. What does it feel like to breathe in this present moment? And when you're ready to transition out of the meditation, return to your feet. This time there can be some movement in your toes, and notice what it feels like to be moving your toes in this present moment. And let this movement transition you out of the meditation. So as your fingers are moving and if you wish your body's stretching, you can transition fully out of the meditation. Thank you.
We hope that you found that experience relaxing. There are many different deep breathing and meditation options on YouTube, and of course there are many apps that offer deep breathing and meditation. Two very well-regarded apps are Calm and Headspace, so it may be something to check out if you found that helpful. Breathing is obviously free and easy to do, so you can bring it with you anywhere you'd like. So in summary, it's important to focus on self-care, and that means not spending too much time watching the news, which can make you more anxious. It's important really to focus on what you can control, which is your reactions and how you spend your time. And of course, don't forget to wash your hands.
So here are some resources that you can use. There's a lot of information out there about the virus, but there's also a lot of misinformation. The Connecticut Children's Hospital has a lot of great materials for families, including a sample schedule to structure your day with kids at home, articles on helping kids cope with anxiety and building resilience. And in a similar vein, SAMHSA has downloadable tip sheets on talking with children and coping with stress during a disease outbreak. The Centers for Disease Control has the most recent information on the coronavirus with recommendations on face masks and social distancing, along with resources on how to manage stress and anxiety. So check those out. Those are credible places to look. And we'd like to thank you for taking part in our workshop on coping with stress in the workplace.
Thanks, Marlene, and thanks, Mark. We really enjoyed partnering with CBIA on this very important topic.
Thank you. I think there's a lot of information in there tucked within each of the bullets that you had, things like that. The relaxation exercise was quite fascinating. It was a very welcome distraction. If you follow that, it forces you not to think about the other things that are causing stress. One point I'd make from my own conversations with companies is, and this was in several of your slides, dealing with expectations, whether it's self-expectations, that of management towards employees, parents towards children. Got to be realistic these days. Things are being done differently in different chunks of content and time, and the normal cycle of getting work done and completing tasks is tossed out the window in many cases, and we need to be realistic from day to day with those types of things. So just pleased to see that emphasized in a couple of different areas. So any concluding comments? Okay.
I guess I'll just say that if anyone has any questions, they would like resources or more information, they can certainly contact us at the 800 number or the website listed on the screen.
Thank you. Or us at CBIA, CBIA.com, and you can certainly explore our website. We've tried to put as much information as we can there, and I know Solutions EAP has some great literature as beyond just the links that were on this webcast today. So again, thank you very much, Scott Serviss and Meredith Kurban. I think very important topic for today's world, and hopefully some of this will carry over in the post-COVID world and enable us to get things done with less stress. So with that, we'll conclude today's webinar, and appreciate everyone who's attended, and please feel free to share this with colleagues as well, and come back and view it as many times as you wish. Thank you, and have a good day, and as Scott said, wash your hands, and I'll add maintain distances and be respectful of everyone during these times. Good day.